Hey, goodness to you. It's Sporty King. And I always say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Welcome to Gift Friday. I created it because so often we hear people say TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. But I say, what allure does Friday have to the person who took their last breath on Thursday or any day before that for that matter? Excuse me. So I've learned to use what I learned through Psalm 92 and 2. And that is, it is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning, your faithfulness in the evening. Thus, instead of TGIF, I use TGIT. Thank God it's today. And then TGIT, thank God it's tonight. Thus, I get to add the lesson that I learned from Matthew 6 and 34. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Thank God it's tonight. Today's trouble is enough for today. Thank God it's today. You see, it doesn't matter which order you say them in. I call it a victorious cycle, and we all know that darkness precedes the light. And after that, therefore, I offer first another way of looking at TGIF, and that is trusting God is free. Think about it. What does it cost you to be blessed with the greatest gift of the day? Waking up doesn't cost you a dime. And that still moves us into realizing that when we move the T in TGIF from the front to the end, we get what we should be thanking God for all the time and giving him thanks for, and that is today. Thus, TGIFT, Gift Friday, God is for today. It's the online sharing of one of my inspirational poems or messages that I will then be happy to send you as a colorful keepsake copy if you like. If you'd like a copy of today's message, and you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, you're going to email me at sporty@sportyking.com. If you're not on my mailing list. If you're on my mailing list, you can just say, Sporty, send me a copy. And if you're on YouTube, you're going to need to put that in the comments instead of the thread. Okay. So it'll be my gift to you. But here I got a different way of looking at a gift for you today. Today, I'm going to be sharing an excerpt and a poem from my book, Starting Today. I mean, stuff happens. Situations that unleash our focus and faith. And I'm doing this in honor of tomorrow's 15 years since my mother took her last breath. And I was the only one who saw it and experienced it. And I had to share it with my brothers and sisters. So what I'll be sending out, if you'd like, is a copy, excerpts from the book. There are 4 chapters. I will be sending you a copy excerpts from the book, if that's what you like, as well as a copy of today's poem. But I'll be reading from the book. So there are 4 chapters, and the chapters are dealing with life, dealing with parenthood, dealing with coaching, and dealing with change, and dealing with passion. This is from the first chapter, and it's called Dealing with Life. And I'm not reading you the whole chapter, so I'm just picking up, okay? I got back to New York that evening and was able to spend a couple of hours with my sister as we prepared to switch turns sitting with Leah. Leah is my mother. Zed, my sister, would get to go home and get some sleep. In fact, we received another blessing in that the doctor had expedited the home attendant care system and arranged for us to have 24-hour assistance. So even though it was my watch, I would be able to thank the wonderful attendant we'd had all week and leave my mother in her capable hands while I went in the living room to get some rest. Zetine left. I sat up talking with the attendant and my mother until she went to sleep. Then I went to get some sleep. We had set up a baby monitor in the room so that I could be at peace out the door and down the hall and down the 2 hallways away from her room. No such peace would come. Instead, I would be tasked with telling my family about my mother's last breath. In 2011, I wrote a speech about it and delivered it at my Toastmasters meeting. As is my pleasure, the title of the speech did not give away the topic. Here is that speech and the inspiration for the book. The speech is called Stuff Happens. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know, but we all have got stuff and have been through some stuff before. Good and bad stuff, fun and sad stuff, old and new stuff, black and blue stuff, sometimes lying to you stuff. Your stuff, my stuff, our stuff, their stuff, whose stuff, and use stuff. Soft and rough stuff, mild, easy, and tough stuff. It's usually hard stuff, and it happens. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've all been through some stuff. I'm talking about the STUFF, situations that unleash our focus and faith. And my stuff began on Sunday morning, January 14th, 2007, at around 2:46 a.m., 14 minutes to 3. I was in the living room, slow asleep, with one eye and one ear open, and the baby monitor next to the closed eye and ear. But believe me, I was tired and would have loved to have fallen fast asleep with no baby monitor in the room, because the truth is, there was no baby at the other end of my monitor. Then I heard it. The Lord is my shepherd. I should not want. And my eyes started to close and meet my smile as I thought about happy stuff. The gift to be able to go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, and do life all over again stuff. And just as I finished that thought, my baby monitor started coughing. And believe me, there was no baby at the other end of the monitor. So, like any of our brave firefighters, I calmly got up and followed the sound to my mother's room, where she and the home attendant had been praying before she felt that little tickle in her throat that we had been praying for 4 days, since the doctor told us that she needed to cough up some of that morphine from her system. You see, the hurt of cancer can be arrested by the high of morphine. Yet neither one is stuff you want to keep in your system. So we were excited that she was ready and able to use the little bucket thing to get some of that watered down morphine out. And by the way, little bucket thing is the extent of my medical terminology. Well, she smiled and I smiled as we emptied the first one, then the second. But by the third and fourth, we didn't have time to smile or exchange pleasantries. And as the attendant wore out the 14 steps to and from the bathroom to empty the little bucket things, she came back in 12. And I caressed her wrist and told her to breathe. As she began to breathe, we switched from the option of using little bucket things number 5 or 6 to using towel number 1, because the watered down morphine had started to flow as life giving blood. And I reassured my mother that this was good and getting gooder, because she was about to get and give us another testimony of her strength and perseverance. My mother was looking into my eyes as if I had a power that we both knew I did not possess, the power to save her. And I looked back at her thinking that I could. Then she looked at me and said, "Make it stop." And it did. Only I had nothing to do with it. And that's when my stuff really kicked in. It was now 3 o'clock in the morning. And instead of being on the other end of a baby monitor, my sister was on the other end of the phone, fast awake, hoping I'd never call. And I could see both her eyes and ears awaken from a shallow sleep as I heard the well chosen calming words from her throat as I told her about all I'd done and what I had accepted. I told her I had felt for a pulse, but I had never felt for a pulse before, and mine was running at top speed. So I felt for a heartbeat. Then I remembered, okay, rationalized, that there were times where I couldn't feel my own heartbeat. You see, I hadn't accepted that my mother was dead. I even said to my sister, I think she's dead. And my sister said, You think? It was her turn to be calm. So she told me to call the doctor. I got the answering service, and the doctor called back in what seemed like 14 seconds or so, short of a minute. And I told him all I'd done and hadn't accepted, after which he told me to hold a mirror under her nose. It was time for family stuff, even funeral stuff. I was about to become the patriarch of a family that idolized an invincible woman who didn't lose her battle with cancer. She chose not to fight the Lord's will. My God had sent for my mother. But let me tell you a little about who he sent for by giving you some fast forward stuff. You see, my mother cursed a lot, and just about everybody who chose to share a sentiment at her celebration started out with some version of Mama King would curse you out, or I'm going to miss Mama King cursing me out, and ended with, but then she'd offer you a plate of food, get you a job, let you know you needed to get your stuff together. We had such a good time sharing happy memories that the preacher, who didn't know my mother well, had to give the table topic sermon that would earn his DTM, the Divinity Toastmaster designation. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Toastmasters, table topics are 2-minute extemporaneous speeches given with no foreknowledge of the topic or the subject. And the actual DTM designation stands for Distinguished Toastmaster. So, as I say, excuse me, he had to give the table topic sermon that would earn his DTM. And just like the little old woman in the shoe who had so many children, she didn't know what to do. We had to charter two buses. We had to charter two buses to go to the cemetery. Feel free to steal that. And then, if you like, we can turn the S in stuff to also stand for sharing. And I'm STUFF, sharing testimonies of unavoidable family and faith. Because you see, I want you to focus on your faith and believe that you can get through the toughest stuff. So let's flip the F's first and look at your faith. FAITH, feeling as if there's hope. Know that the only thing you cannot do is give up. And we all know the cliche, when one door closes, another will open. But you've heard me say on my broadcast, this is not in the book, and that is the Sporty King remix. When one door closes, go for the windows. Go for the windows because there's usually more windows than there are doors. And we have to, and dare we call it the window of opportunity. Go for the windows because you should always put yourself in position to make a choice because you made a lot of good choices, but we focus on the bad ones. Go for the windows because you've got a lot of stuff to choose from. And while making your choices, commit to your focus. FOCUS, finding ourselves creates unlimited success. Focus on you and let other people come into focus. You see, when you focus on you, you'll see who wants to help and who wants to hinder your progress. You can't help anyone if you don't help yourself. And you can't help anyone who doesn't want your help. There's another one of those easy cliches that says, you have no idea of just how powerful you are. Well, the truth is, you may not know, but you should know. And you should have, or rather, you should have an idea. You've got to know that you've got to put yourself first in order to help others. And though I can't help offer you a plate of food or a job, I can remind you to keep your stuff together. You see, my stuff got me here today. Good and bad stuff, fun and sad stuff, old and new stuff, black and blue stuff, sometimes lying to you stuff. Your stuff, my stuff, our stuff, their stuff, whose stuff, and use stuff. Soft and rough stuff, mild, easy, and tough stuff. It's usually hard stuff, yet sometimes even testimonial stuff. And the joy is that it happens. Situations that unleash our focus and faith. That was the end of the speech. But as I go on in the book. At first, I thought it was a curse. Then I found myself in that zone of what I call occupational hazard as a motivational speaker. I had to find a way to turn this into a positive. So instead of believing that this was a tragedy, I drew upon my faith to realize that God's gift was to keep Leah alive until I got back from Chicago and let Zet finish her shift, because no one else in my family could have handled Leah's last breath and her last chapter. You see, I understood that I had had a mother and parents longer than any of my younger siblings. I recognized that I could not restart her life, but that I'd have to start mine without her. Thus, I created this final poem, and it's called The Gift of a Testimonious Curse. Or is it the curse of a testimonious gift? Or is it irrelevant? Because it is God's will, and you will live. All we should question, I'm sorry, and you will, let me read over. Or the gift of a testimonious curse. Or is it the curse of a testimonious gift? Or is it irrelevant? Because it is God's will, and you will die. The question we should ask is, will you live? Thank you for enjoying Gift Friday as I remember and memorialize tomorrow, January 14th, 15 years since my mother's passing, and the joy God has brought into my life since then. If you like a copy of an excerpt from the book, as well as a copy of that final poem, then if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, send me an email to sporty@sportyking.com if you're not on my mailing list. The reason I say that, tech tip, is if I send it to you, it's in a PDF. If you just say it right here, and I send it to PDF, and your security will block it as spam. But if you send me an email, I will be replying to your email, and therefore the PDF will get through. Don't use that just for me. You can use it with anything that you have to do. But I always want you to remember. And then but again, if you're on my mailing list, just drop it in there and I'll send it to you. Not a problem. Okay. Enjoy your gift and then think about how you share it. And remember, GIFT, God is for today. And today is a day, just one of many, that I get to remember my mother, Mary Louise King. As she used to say, darling, I wish there were more of me. And as I like to laugh, since Dr. King's birthday celebration is January 15th, one king left and another came in. In fact, that year, it was on a Sunday, and then the next day was the holiday. And so we couldn't get a lot done. So all of that is in the book as well. So again, let me know if you like a copy. Let me give some shout outs as I prepare to end this message. But I just want to say, hey, Marilyn Fitzgerald, yay, long time from Chicago. Great message, Sporty. Thank you from Facebook. Tony, why do I know these by heart? Because you were wonderfully there to support me during that contest, and I appreciate you. Bruce, who's celebrating his birthday today. Happy anniversary of your birth, Bruce. Always there with me. I'm focusing on my Friday the 13th birthday. Yeah, Friday the 13th. Watch the movie, but don't let the fear take over. And Friday, Shirley, again, that's Tony. That's some powerful stuff. Yeah, y'all, because stuff does happen. Thank you. God bless you. And have a wonderful Dr. King weekend. As you know, there's a song, they say, take a day to love somebody. So don't waste the Dr. King weekend as just another long holiday. It's about it. You know what? I just thought this. I've got a neighbor who is a healthcare worker, and so I sent him a message just yesterday saying, if there's anything, because a week ago he told me he had got contracted COVID. So I said, if there's anything I could do for you, let me know. I said, see, I haven't forgotten that you are still an essential worker. And he laughed. He said, we were just talking about that today, how we used to be considered rock stars, but the public has moved on. Please, public, don't. Please continue to honor and say thank you to someone who is an essential worker. We need to revive that. See, it's never about letting things go. It's always recognizing that we can move things forward. Okay. So I thank you again for moving forward with me, thanking essential workers today. And as you think about Dr. King, you'll think about a lot of essential workers. Okay. God bless you. Enjoy your gift. Ciao.